Hey YouTube, this is Steve from Average Joe's Fantasy Football, and we've got another mock draft video to help you guys out with your upcoming fantasy football season. Again, fantasy football is in high gear. We are talking preseason, we're talking training camps, a lot of information, and hopefully these videos help you guys kind of out with some insight of where players are falling. Maybe they're getting drafted too early, and hopefully these guys help you out, so let's check it out. All right, so as you can see here, I am in the 8th spot of a 12-team full PPR league. Now, of course, if there are different formats you'd love to see, hit me up in the comments down below so I can get those out for you. Because again, the week 1 of the NFL preseason is just about here. The Hall of Fame is over with, and we've got a lot of football ahead of us. So hopefully this helps you out. So let's kind of see how this draft goes for the computer model, and I'll give you some insight of players that I really like and why I like them there. Now, when you're in the 9th spot, 8th spot, 10th spot, or anything like that in a 10 to 12 team league, my theory and really recommendation is get your premier wide receiver and then get a running back in the second round. If you do not get that route, and unfortunately, if you don't get a running back in the second or even first round, depending on who's available, there's a good chance you will have a running back you're not super happy with. Maybe with some RB1 potential, depending on where they fall. And there are a couple players I do love, which I'm going to have a video out for you guys, some hidden gems for you. But here at the 8th spot, looking at the players here, you got to go CeeDee Lamb. He is in a premier spot. Love the offense for him. A healthy Dak would be great. Adding George Pickens helps. And of course, you still got weapons like Jake Ferguson, Jalen Tolbert. So this offense looks really good for Dallas. I love grabbing CeeDee Lamb in the 8th spot. I think it's a perfect spot for him. You could have gone running back, again, a little bit early. I'd rather grab a wide receiver that I know has the potential to be a top 5 player in fantasy world, and then get your running back in the second round. Now, you could go wide receiver here. You got Brian Thomas, Drake London, A.J. Brown. Again, for me, I'm going to go a running back route, because if I don't, looking at that 3-8 pick, it's going to be really hard to get a really good running back. And the running back I'm going to grab here is Josh Jacobs. I know he's underrated. I know he's looked at as not a premier, running back when it comes to fantasy, but he is outstanding. He's a great RB1 for any roster that's out there, and I would absolutely have him on my team. Again, pairing him with CeeDee Lamb is in a great spot. Now, when it comes to the third round, you could go the running back position. You can go wide receiver. Now, I actually like to go wide receiver, running back if I'm anywhere from the 8th to the 10th spot, or even to the 12th spot, depending on how many wide receivers, or excuse me, how many people in your league. You could go wide receiver here. You've got some great options in Smith and Jigba, Garrett Wilson, Marvin Harrison, Mike Evans. I mean, really good options. But for me, Chase Brown in the 3rd round, I would love to pair him up with Josh Jacobs. He's one of my favorite players coming into the draft. He is being drafted a lot later than I anticipated, because he does have the potential to be a really high-end RB2 with some RB1 potential. And again, now I can get my wide receiver here if I want, or I can go tight end, quarterback. There's different routes you can go in the 4th round. Now, looking at the wide receivers pop right off, a little bit tough there. I would love to have gotten one of these wide receivers in the turn. Obviously, these teams did not go running back. Now, depending on how your league mates draft, Team 9, as you can see here, went wide receiver, quarterback, wide receiver, tight end. May not be as common, but there are teams and leagues that I've seen where wide receivers or tight ends or something like that is treated differently in the running back position, which I think you get the leg up if you can get your top running backs early on, because the wide receiver depth is so there. Like it's not a position that I'm going to be absolutely wanting to go after unless there's a premier wide receiver. Now, looking at the options here, I can go running back again, get my flex player, get a nice little backup for bye weeks or injuries and things like that. You got Kenneth Walker, Chuba Hubbard, Marion Hampton, really good options there, even Alvin Kamara. Or you can go wide receiver. You've got Metcalf, Cortland Sutton. Now, for me, I'm looking at value too. Yes, I like some of these wide receivers, but for me, I've got to at least get the best player available, and looking at the best player available is going to be a running back position. And between these running backs, you got Kamara, Kenneth Walker. Again, a lot of good options. I'm going to go Alvin Kamara here, because Kamara is definitely being overlooked. He is being treated as if he doesn't even exist anymore. I know he's on a horrible Saints offense. No one knows who the quarterback is. You've got Olave. There's not a lot of great options. But Alvin Kamara is the only option outside of Olave. And Olave's had some concussion injuries and concussion concerns. So for me, outside of an injury, Kamara is in a great spot to have really, really strong success. Yes, he's my third running back, so I'm not worried about it. He's a nice little flex position that I can kind of sit there in the flex and never have to worry unless for bye weeks. Now, you saw a lot of great wide receivers coming off. Again, really good second options. Metcalf, Flowers, even Worthy, even Jameson Williams. I love him there. But again, don't always overreach. Now, looking at the options here, you got tight end position, Laporta, Hawkinson. You could even go maybe another running back if you didn't get Alvin Kamara. Now, in this particular spot, I'm going to go to Torrey McMillan. I think he's in a really good offense. I know it's the Panthers. People aren't known to say that, but I really like the Carolina Panthers. I think they've set themselves up to have a really good, I would say, next few years around Bryce Young. I love McMillan. Obviously, you got the veteran Thielen, Leggett. You've got Hubbard. Really good options for them. So I really like McMillan as a nice little solid wide receiver too. Now you have to start to slow down a little bit. I've got my flex. I got my 2 starting running backs, and I've got my 2 starting wide receivers. You go quarterback here, right? You've got quarterback options like Baker Mayfield. You got Bo Nix. Really good options at the quarterback position. But realistically, you can get those quarterbacks a lot later, depending on how your league drafts. So looking at the 6th spot, I want to get the best player available that has a lot of upside. And realistically, I'm not going to necessarily go tight end. Now, looking at those options, you got players like Jalen Waddle, Travion Henderson, if you want another running back, Jerry Jeudy, who I really like, Calvin Ridley, I really like. So really good options, but some of those players I could feel fall right to me later on. I'm actually going to go with a savvy veteran, Aaron Jones. I know they got Jordan Mason, but this offense looks really, really good for the Minnesota Vikings. Obviously, we don't know how J.J. McCarthy is going to play out. I do have I think he's actually be pretty good. I know a lot of people are kind of unsure about it, but I love Aaron Jones in this spot because, again, I'm not necessarily needing him to be my RB1 or even RB2, but he's a nice flex play. Again, maybe fill a week where someone's injured or bye week, whatever. I really like Aaron Jones there. Now, again, you've got the best player available. That should be your strategy going forward. Yes, you have positions to fill in this particular spot. You got quarterback, you got tight end, obviously you got kicker, defense, you got your bench. I've got 4 more bench spots. But you always want to try to get the best player available, no matter what the position is. You could do trades throughout the season. Now, do you want to stack 6 running backs to your team? Not necessarily. Do it with ease, right? I've got 4 running backs. I'm not going to keep going running back, even though there's some really good options like Caleb Johnson and things like that, Tony Pollard. But for me, I'm actually going to go grab Deebo Samuel in this Commanders offense. We're not sure what's going to happen with McLaurin. I do think Terry McLaurin's going to get signed. I don't think he's going to get traded. I do think he's going to start week 1. I think the Commanders will figure this out. Even with that said, though, I still think Deebo Samuel's got some value. They're going to use him in the gadget plays. They're going to move him all around. And I think with the ability that Jaden Daniels has to flex, whether he's running to his right or left or make plays in the pocket, he has the ability to kind of stretch and make defenses kind of sunk in a little bit and pay attention to him, allowing Deebo to kind of come across the middle or even deep. I really like Deebo Samuel for this roster. So again, I like the plays that I've got so far. I think I've got some older, savvy veterans that I think will have some good weeks here and there that will help me out. I know this isn't best ball, and we're trying to obviously avoid that. This is a regular redraft. Now, I've got the tight end position and quarterback position to fill. Looking at the positions here, I don't want to necessarily miss out. So I'm going to grab Evan Ingram. If you guys have watched any of my videos before, I like Evan Ingram going forward. I think he's in a really good spot in this Denver Broncos offense. Again, Sean Payton loves the tight end position. Let's think Jimmy Graham. Is Evan Ingram Jimmy Graham? Not necessarily, but people have forgotten that Evan Ingram has had over 100 balls his way. He's had some really good seasons, especially for Jacksonville. And I think this is a nice little game or team for him to kind of build that rapport back up where, again, he had some injuries last season. A lot of people have forgotten. So I've got 3 bench places. I've got my kicker, my defense, and of course my quarterback position. Now, looking at the quarterback position, a lot of the quarterbacks did go off the field, but you've got players like Stroud, you got Dak, Jordan Love, really good options there. So I'm not going to say go quite quarterback yet. I still want to fill out this roster and look at the players available. We've got Josh Downs, Pearsall, who I really like. I can get Jordan Mason to kind of backfill, Aaron Jones if I need it, but he's not necessarily my starter. But for me, I'm going to go Emeka Egbuka. I think Egbuka is in a good spot for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I think he can be utilized very early. They like him a lot. I know Chris Godwin will eventually come back from his injury, but I think for me, I think he's a nice little play. I know he's one of the few rookies that I have in McMillan as well, but I really like him there. Now, I don't want to miss out on a quarterback position. We're in the 10th round at this point. People are going to start filling out quarterbacks. It's very unlikely in teams that are either non-super flex or non-2 QB are going to have 2 quarterbacks on their rosters. It is a chance, though. You might have some league mates who do that, kind of to gatekeep you from having a nice quarterback, right? To make you forced to pick up a waiver quarterback or a quarterback you're not necessarily sold on. So for me, once you're at this point, whether it be the 9th or 10th round, you know your league very well, you may have to go in the quarterback position. So, of course, I'm going to go Dak Prescott to pair up with CeeDee Lamb here. And again, I do think Dak has the potential to be a top 10, if not top 5 fantasy quarterback. As long as he stays healthy the way this offense is built out so far, I think he can do that. Again, barring an injury, right? That's the big thing with anything with fantasy, barring injury. So, kicker, defense, obviously I got to fill those out. Don't get me wrong. Very important positions. You could obviously get a kicker. Obviously, you see in this 11th round, you got Aubrey, who's the best kicker in the game as of right now. Yeah, would have loved to have gotten him, but I'm not going to draft a kicker that early. I'd rather fill out my roster in different ways, and that is with depth, right? I can go get another tight end if I wanted to. Not something I recommend unless it's tight end premium, but you could go to a player like, Goddard, or maybe you want to get a player like Trey Harris. Nice little rookie, even though obviously there's an uncertainty of how this Chargers offense is going to play out. Rashid Shaheed, really good player. He's played really well. Quarterback situation unheard of, right? We don't know what's going to happen there. Or you get a player like Tank Bigsby and so on and so forth. So looking at the options here and all the players that are available. Now, these are, again, bench players. I like actually grabbing, in this particular spot, Luther Burden. I know he's going to be essentially the 3rd wide receiver on this roster, but I think he's worth some value. I'm not going to say he's going to overtake Roman Nudze, but Burden has some gadget play ability. He's got the ability to have some big plays, and I do think they're going to do a lot of 3 wide receiver sets when it comes to the Chicago Bears. I liked how they're going to utilize them. I love this Ben Johnson move for them. Now, I've got obviously my kicker, defense, and all that fun stuff. Now, looking at this, I got Shaheed, who I really like. I do have the ability to take the risk on Jaden Blue. I think there's a possibility of him actually having some type of value for the Dallas Cowboys, but I'm going to go play it safe and get Tank Bigsby here. I think he's a nice little play when it comes to backing up Travis Etienne, or even maybe possibly overtake Etienne's job. We don't know how Jacksonville's going to feel about it. Again, new offense, new head coach. There's a lot of things that might change. So again, Bigsby's worth at least a grab. Now I've got to fill out my last players. Going to grab Tyler Bass. If you guys have watched any of my videos, you always want to get a kicker on a good powered offense and an offense that could possibly stall and obviously have some good good kicks. And then, of course, I want to get another defense here. You do got to draft. And looking at the options here, Chiefs are a good option. The Buccaneers are a good option. Possibly even the Jets are a good option. I'm actually going to end up taking the Kansas City Chiefs. They've played really well defensively. So really, again, I would love to have gotten a Ravens or a Vikings or something like that, but I still think the Chiefs are well worth it. So that is my 8th spot of a 12-team full PPR. Let me know in the comments, and of course, let's talk about it. All right, so that is the end of that mock draft. So again, this is the 8th spot of a full PPR 12-team league. If you guys thought this draft went well, maybe you thought, hey, this could have been better, let me know in the comments down below. Hopefully this kind of helps you guys out with where players are going. Maybe they're falling, maybe they're rising. Maybe they're worth it certain rounds. Maybe they're not. Hopefully this helps you guys out with those type of questions you guys have going forward. And of course, if you guys are new to the channel, make sure you guys are subscribed. Make sure you guys hit that like button. It is greatly appreciated. Share this with other friends and maybe not necessarily your league mates, but other people that are in some fantasy leagues that are coming up. And of course, make sure you check out other videos that I've got going on. I've got some hidden gems coming out. I've got some players I'm avoiding. And of course, more mock drafts your way. Again, make sure you subscribe, like, and I'll check you guys out next time.